All right, guys, welcome back to MMA Breakdowns and Bets. Brandon, Pierce, Mr. Santino is gone this week. He just signed a big book deal. The guy is going to go J.K. Rowling on us, so he is unable to do film this week. So he didn't even want to do the podcast; didn't have time for it. He's got deadlines, so that he's got to hit. So he's focused on getting his little book done. So, Pierce, thanks for jumping on with me. I would have just done this solo, but the feedback's been good. So, hey, we'll crush this thing.
Yeah, I guess this is a good way for us to make up for no contender series video this week, but I'm glad to make the short notice call.
Well, I got a bone to pick with you on that. Hold on, my mic is loud as hell. Maybe that's better. I got a bone to pick with you on that, man. I told you, I was like, hey, today my head is like, it's too much for me. Tomorrow I can. You're like, well, I'm going to be in school all day. And then you're like, going live with Big Steve. I was so mad. Like, what the hell? So, but it's okay. We didn't do that good. So, cool. Glad we skipped it.
Yeah, ready to get into this UFC Paris card. It seems, first glance or just like doing a little bit of the tape, it seems a little bit of a tricky card. Normally when you have like these EU fight night cards, they generally have a lot of setup spots. It doesn't feel like that for this card, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. The same thing. Jeez, I cannot figure out this. Maybe I'm talking too loud into the mic. How's my volume?
Sounds good on my end. There's only one way to find out.
Okay, I keep messing with this thing and it's going crazy. Yeah, man, I'm totally with you. It seemed like a lot of the original matchups were fairly A side, B side kind of thing, and now that everything has been mixed and matched around, now things have gotten a lot different. Let's get into this card. So you told me you did not take the women's fights, correct?
I mainly some of them. We can just go top to bottom or bottom to top, and I'll just mention whichever ones I haven't. But
Okay, so we'll start the first fight of the night is Zarah Fairn versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. What you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. This is one of the few that I didn't look into. I saw the price tag on Cavalcanti. It's minus 350, and I mean Zarah Fairn's like one of the worst women on the roster, so no opinion here, but I'm guessing it's warranted.
Yeah, she looked better last time, right? Everybody was expecting Joselyne Nunes to go in there and just kill her, and ended up going to a decision. And she actually looked really good in the first round, and then just couldn't keep up the output. Yeah, I mean, she has historically been one of the worst on the roster. She's 39 years old now. Last September, I trained with Jacqueline Cavalcanti. She's taller than me. She's jacked. She doesn't get tired. She puts combos together. I mean, honestly, I hate to say it, but I feel like this price tag is justified, right? She got a gift matchup in her LFA title fight. We all knew she was going to win. That was an easy one, slam dunk right there. So I think she covers. I think she looks good here. She keeps high volume, keeps pressure, keeps good hands. Maybe she won't be a UFC champion, but I like her in this spot for sure.
All right, and then this fight is at a catch weight of 140, so I don't know. I don't think Zarah Fairn's been at 135 for a while, let alone 140. So hopefully she makes.
Man, she's Cavalcanti's a big girl. Let me see. She fought PFL against Martina Jindrova, who I think is actually pretty decent. Yeah, so she's solid. She's big. She's taller than me. All right, next up we have. Oh, this is a good one. Kleydson Rodrigues versus Farid Basharat. Why don't you go ahead and kick this one off?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been a big Farid Basharat fan. I mean, you can ever since his contender series fight when he beat Bagoso. I mean, the guy in a lot of his fights, Farid's just a very smart fighter. He's kind of like his brother Javid, or they might not wow you with physicality and athleticism. They have amazing fight IQ, but I guess my problem here is that like the market's like all of a sudden like thinking Kleydson Rodrigues is like a bum, and it's minus 350 for Farid Basharat. And I haven't made a bet on it yet, but it's like, what? I mean, he did go to a close decision with CJ Vergara, and a lot of people thought he won that fight. Kleydson, it was a very close fight. It's like, but what has he really done to become such a big underdog? Because it's like his last fight against Shannon Ross, he just ran through him like we all expected. But I guess he had a couple weight misses. But it's a tough fight because I think Farid's definitely the rightful favorite. But it's like Kleydson early, he's gonna give Farid problems. He's always explosive. I guess it just comes down to how smart Kleydson is, because it feels like some fights he just kind of spazzes and goes for finishes, but I don't know. That Santo Corotolo fight was a good performance from Kleydson, and that's a grappler. But Santo's not nowhere near Farid's level. It's just weird when you got to factor in the prices here, because while I think Farid's gonna win, it's just like minus 350 against a guy as athletic as Kleydson. I mean, it is bantamweight, so maybe Kleydson's a bit undersized, but he was a huge flyweight, so I think the size is gonna be fine at bantamweight. But honestly, I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I'm feeling like a dog shot on Kleidson's maybe not the worst bet at plus 285.
No, I think it's the worst bet. Kleydson, here's the deal with these people that are moving up, and we're going to see this a little bit later in the night too. Kleydson is 5'7", right? So we're the same height as me, and he's a flyweight, right? He's very muscular, and he's had some problems making weight, right? So now he's got to move up to 135. The thing is that even if Farid's, skill for skill, if Farid was at, I'm going to move the mic a little bit farther from my face. Even if Farid was at 125, skill for skill, I would still take Farid. I think he's the better fighter. The thing that you're doing with Santo Corotolo, so Santo's skill for skill is a very good fighter. Like, the guy is clean, he can wrestle, he does a lot of things really, really well. The problem with Santo is he doesn't really have to cut weight. The dude is a freaking midget. So you get one of the smallest guys against one of the biggest guys. It's hard to rate that performance a lot, right? You throw a lot of front kicks and just like kind of pick them apart on the outside. Like, it's hard because Santo's tiny, tiny, tiny. Shannon Ross, and then going life or death with CJ Vergara. I don't know, man. I don't like that. He doesn't have much of a process. He's just bigger, stronger, more athletic than most of the guys that he's fighting and he's beating. I think he is talented. You're right. It's like the skill differential is not crazy massive here to justify a huge, price tag, but and I really like Farid. I think he wrestles when he needs to. His striking, his distance management, his cardio, every single box checks out for Farid, where it doesn't necessarily for Kleydson, right? Not a lot of presses on the feet, bad cardio, doesn't get up once he gets taken down. Like, there's just so many things that are just going to be, that's it for Kleydson. I think you had mentioned something earlier in the week. Obviously, Farid decision, that's always on the table. And I think Kleydson is a talented enough fighter to push it there. And the weight cut won't be as bad, so maybe we see improved cardio. I just think minus 350, like, I know from a sharp angle that's like, it's too high of a number, but from a who's going to win this fight, I think you could play him at minus 350 and you're going to feel okay. Like, I don't think you're going to really sweat much through the fight. So I got Farid.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Farid's definitely the side. It's just like, it just comes down to whether you want to just parlay up Farid. But even his decision, it's like minus 105 on BetOnline for his decision. And it's like,
yeah, tough.
It's not really worth it to lay the chalk on a decision, especially when Kleydson might have really bad cardio in this matchup. But Farid's smart enough to win this fight. But yeah, I don't know. No bet for me. I think the price is crazy in my opinion.
I like this angle because with Santino's just like picks one or the other, and then you kind of hit this from an actual betting perspective, right? Because Santino's not allowed to gamble. All right. Next up, hey, I'm getting a little bit of echo on your side of things.
Yeah, I'll just mute my mic when you're talking. It's probably because of that.
Okay. Next up, we have Nora Cornolle versus Joselyne Edwards. So this is my turn to kick this one off. Honestly, I'm going to skip this one. And here's why. Watching the tape, Nora's tape is horrible. Joselyne Edwards' tape is horrible. Process, skill, strength of schedule, I kind of like Joselyne Edwards everywhere here. She's longer. She's a better striker, a little bit more dynamic. She struggles off her back, but honestly, we haven't really seen that be much of an issue except for the Pudilova fight as of late. And I don't think that Nora Cornolle on tape is as good as Lucy Pudilova. However, these debut women have been destroying me, killing me. I mean, how many debut women or like long layoff women have we seen just come out and wreck? Who was that Brazilian Muay Thai chick that killed Jessica Rose Clark, right? That chick, Natalia Silva, Veronica Hardy. I know she was already in the UFC, but took a long time off, came back, world beater. Luana Carolina not Luana Carolina. The chick who just fought Juliana Miller. Like, these debut girls have been coming and just shocking the world. So for me, I can't have a bet on this one. I can't have a lean on this one. I'm not going to make a pick on this one. Honestly, I think this is best to just watch it and live bet it. We know that Joselyne Edwards fades a little bit through the course of a fight. I don't know much about Nora. She looks really rudimentary in her skill, just kind of comes forward like a brute. I don't love that style. I don't love that tape, but I'm scared just from all these debut girls. So, you got anything on this one?
Yeah, I gotta dig a little bit more deeper on it, but I watched some quick film on Nora before we hopped on this podcast, and I mean, I was expecting her from the takes I was hearing online that she's like a good grappler and all that, but she seems like a Muay Thai girl, and it's like you're giving me a 500 level fighter at the UFC, albeit Joselyne maybe didn't win her last fight against Pudilova, but that's neither here or there. But if this is a striking match, man, I mean, it's hard not to think pick'em. It's like you're giving me a mystery box of a woman who's fighting soccer moms, and you got Joselyne Edwards, who she's not fighting the highest level girls, but like Ji Young Kim, I mean, that's a solid win, and we know Joselyne can go 15 hard minutes, land 100 plus significant strikes, and it's like it's a pick'em, and you're giving me the seasoned vet. I don't know. It is women's MMA, so maybe you're right, and these debut women tend to fuck shit up, but. It's either Joselyne Edwards or pass. I don't know how you can bet on this Muay Thai girl at a pick'em against Joselyne Edwards, but yeah, probably pass and just download data from this fight.
Yep, totally agree. All right. Next up, we have Ange Loosa and Rhys Mckee. Why don't I go on this one? I'll start on this one. I know a very close friend of the show, Aaron from Cumbo Capital. He was huge on Ange Loosa. Like, he loves Ange Loosa. And so I was going into this, and I was kind of like, I remember briefly like how each of them fought, right? Watch all of Rhys's Cage Warriors fights, watch every fight of Ange Loosa since he's been in the UFC, bet on him plenty of times. I think I've made money every single fight of his. And in my mind, I was like, man, this is going to be a super easy one. And I came out from the tape going, man, this is way harder than I even thought. And here's my initial thoughts on it. Ange Loosa, talented guy, trains at Killcliff, like he's all aggression, he's all motor. Love him. Athletically, he's a freak. Had a great fight with JDM, really, really good. And Rhys Mckee has been so underwhelming in his entire career, right? Like, short UFC stint, like just underwhelming. But man, here's the thing: the Munir-Lazzez fight. Munir was keeping the jab, and Ange Loosa really didn't want to wrestle, didn't try to wrestle. He couldn't get past the jab. Like, that jab was throwing him off. And what does Rhys Mckee do more than anybody, right? He throws jabs. Now, the one thing I wish with Rhys Mckee is I wish he put a little stamp on it. He throws the laziest, saddest, weakest jabs, and he's got so much volume, but everything's just lazy. But the thing that I worry about is that is enough. Just a lazy jab is enough to keep Ange Loosa out of the grappling, out of the aggression, off him. And Rhys Mckee is so tall and so long that Ange can't get to him. I really wanted to love Ange Loosa here, right? With the grappling, we know how bad Rhys's takedown defense is. This were 5 rounds. Rhys all day. 3 rounds is a little bit tougher. But honestly, I think I like Rhys here to fill up the space and fill up the volume. And I really think that Ange has trouble with that long jab and lots of volume in his face, just like we saw in the Lazzez fight. So, I don't love this spot. This is not my favorite, but I think I'm going to go Rhys Mckee on this one. What says you?
Yeah, man. So obviously this might be a bit of the minority this week picking Rhys Mckee, but it's like, I know the price
Ange is the minority, not Rhys.
Okay, well, NBAW, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard not to, especially the early prices I bet on Rhys Mckee when he was like plus 151, and Ange was like minus 180 on the comeback, and it's like, yeah, Ange Loosa probably is the rightful favorite just off of like he's the more athletic fighter and he probably has more paths to victory when it comes to the grappling, but I feel like the size of Rhys is going to give Ange a lot of problems. You mentioned the Munir fight. He didn't really have an answer for the jab. Rhys in this matchup, I think he's got like a 3-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. And the issue with Rhys is that I would go heavier, but it's like sometimes he's not smart with his weapons. Like, you would want him to kind of just pop a 1-2 maintain his range, but a lot of times he's like over swinging, and then that might lead to him getting caught with the right hand from Ange Loosa, or even him getting taken down. But I don't know. Ange Loosa doesn't come off as like a major control grappler where he can just hold down Rhys for the whole fight. Well, Rhys does get taken down a lot. I mean, against Burlinson, Morono, and then I think even Wallhead took him down, but that was like very minimal. But Rhys seems very squirmy. He won't really sit still on the mat. And then, unless Ange is going to like sink in a body triangle and really get a dominant position, I feel like Rhys is going to work up to the feet. And when we're on the feet, I mean, you got to give Ange probably the first round. Rhys does tend to start a little slow. Like you said, if it was 5 rounds, it's Rhys all day. But you probably give Ange the first round at a high clip, and Rhys gets the third round at a high clip because Rhys sets a hell of a pace. It's probably going to come down to the second round. It's just going to be a close decision where it's like, you got minus 170, minus 180 Loosa. If he's not hitting takedowns, you're going to be sweating that ticket. And it's like Rhys is going to put out 100 strikes. As long as he doesn't get chinned, I feel like on the feet, he's going to be the better striker when it comes to the volume. And it comes down to whether the judges are going to favor Rhys's volume over the power shots from Loosa. But I feel like Rhys is definitely the side at these odds. I don't know why anybody's so passionate about Ange Loosa, because he's always been a 50-50 fighter. It's like he never really runs away with minutes. I mean, he's one loss. Like, he's never been able to get 2 wins in a row in his last like 6 fights, I think. So he won his last fight. So if the trend continues, he's going to get a loss this weekend.
All right, Jan, relax. You know what? My last thing in the notes that I had on this one is, man, okay, I might be drifting back more towards the Ange Loosa side, because Lazzez was just putting a stamp on his punches, especially that round 3. He was beating the shit out of Ange Loosa, but he really, really got that respect. And that lazy jab and the physicality, the lack thereof of physicality of Rhys Mckee is something that worries me. So honestly, this fight for me is a complete pass. I don't love this fight. I see pass for both guys. Power, aggression, mixing in the wrestling for Ange, volume for Rhys Mckee, and cardio. But man, Lazzez with high volume, but also put a stamp on it, where Rhys is just so like just lazy. So yeah, I'll stick with Rhys just for the argument. But for me, like, completely, this fight's a pass.
I mean, I will say it's safe to say that Rhys is, like, I've noticed, especially in the Montekivi fight for Cage Warriors, ever since his UFC stand, I can't help but think he's getting better. I mean, he's only 27 years old. He was kind of a young kid, a little bit reckless when he first got into the UFC. I think we need to factor that in too, that Rhys is improving. I mean, I don't know. You're giving me 40% implied odds on Rhys in a fight that I think it's 50-50. So I don't know. It's a close fight. So yeah, you're right. Maybe not. Maybe it's a pass, but I like Rhys in this spot. Maybe it's the Cage Warriors bias in me.
Well, all right. Speaking of, next up we had Taylor Lapilus versus Caolán Loughran. Why don't you go ahead? You get this one.
Yeah. So my take, or my bet, might be a little bit different than my take. So I bet Caolán Loughran when he opened at like plus 235, and the line has since came down a lot. It's like -1. Okay, I can look at it. -165 Lapilus, plus 145 Loughran. So it looks like there has been a little bit of a buyback on Lapilus. And while I really like Caolán Loughran, I've been a big fan of his ever since since we've been betting on Cage Warriors. It's just with Lapilus, he kind of comes off to me kind of like a William Gomez. He's an ultimate weasel. And with Loughran, I mean, I guess the path to victory here would be to kind of get Lapilus in the pocket, maybe look for takedowns. But it's like Lapilus is fighting. I can't ignore the level of competition for Lapilus. I can pull it up right here, but it's like the who's who. I mean, he was in the UFC. He was 3-1, and he got cut. I don't know why he got cut, because it's not even like his UFC performances are that bad. But this is his last 5 wins in a row. DeMarte Pena, Eris champion, beat him. Wilson Reyes, UFC vet. Marcus Brino, he's doing his thing in Bellator. Nate Maness, UFC fighter, and Josh Hill, who's a Bellator vet. So it's like he's beating all those guys, and that's really impressive to me. So I guess he is the side, even though I have a bet on Loughran. I'm a big fan of the guy, but I guess my take on Lapilus, maybe don't go too crazy on him, is just because he doesn't really, I mean, yeah, his last fight against Reyes and Pena, he did look really good in those fights, but he doesn't come off as a guy that's going to cover heavy favorite price tags. But I guess in this matchup, it comes down to whether Loughran's going to get takedowns, because if Loughran can get takedowns, maybe he takes the back, gets some control time. But it'll be more of answer questions on what level Loughran's at, but because we know Lapilus is a skilled fighter, it's just we aren't really sure what level Loughran's at, but he does talk a mad game, so maybe he performs this Saturday. But it's a pass for me at the current odds, but I do have an early bet on Loughran.
Okay, I have an early bet on Loughran as well because we love him so much. He's so awesome. He's so cool. He's all these good things. Here's the deal with this one. Bias aside, just looking film for film, fight for fight, Loughran is tiny. He's tiny, but he's wide, right? He's a little bowling ball, wrecking ball, and cool, good for him. Lapilus is weird because he's got those skinny black legs and a really wide body, and he's actually a pretty good size 35er. Like he's good, moves really well. Here's the deal. I think that is it Caolan?
Yeah, we'll just
He
go with
doesn't
that. I'm
have.
not even sure.
Yeah, he doesn't have much of a process, right? He is just, I'm tougher than you. I'm the immovable object. I'm gonna stand here and I'm gonna throw low kicks. I'm gonna counter punch, and let's let the toughest man win, right? That last fight was tough for me because that first round was super, super close with a guy, Dylan Hazan, who's a wrestler primarily and a 25er, right? He's going life or death with round one. I know round two he finished him, whatever. But round one was life or death with a guy who's a 25er who's a wrestler. And that was striking, like on the feet, striking. Now you get Lapilus, who's, he's kind of got this reputation. I think I disagree with you on this. You said he's just like Gomez. Yeah, he's southpaw and he's black. That's okay. There you go. And they're sharp strikers. But if you watch Gomez is always, always, always on the edge, right? He's always fighting off his back foot. And he's always moving laterally. Lapilus used to do that. That's how he used to fight. Now he's starting to press action. He'll start to press guys. And his striking is so clean and so precise. And here's what I see. Caolan, the way he throws a right hand, this is something I've struggled with since I started fighting, right? Like a boxing right hand is boom, straight. It's like super clean. And the way Caolan throws it is he throws it like this. And his chin and his face opens up when he throws that punch. Everything is, it's not supposed to be a loop, but it's just a slight loop, right? Just how he throws it. His face opens up. And the way that I see Taylor, he's such a clean, just sniper. Boom. Because the jabs aren't going to be there, right? When you're in opposite stance, jabs aren't your most effective weapon. It's actually the straights that are your most effective weapon. It's straights and body kicks. And because your liver is on the right side of your body, the body kicks for the southpaw are going to be way better than the body kicks for the orthodox fighter, right? And everyone keeps going to this. We saw this in a few Discord groups. Everyone keeps talking leg kicks, leg kicks, leg kicks. It seems like that's what every capper just wants to say, leg kicks. They pay no attention to how are you going to get that leg kick, right? When you're opposite stance, right? Opposite stance, you're not going to just throw leg kicks. You're going to break your own shin. You're going to kick into their knee. You're going to kick into a front check. So you have to be really precise and good timing on your inside low kick, or you have to switch stance and go back to the outside. But then when you switch stance against a southpaw who is a southpaw naturally and you're not, you're at a big disadvantage for the guy who fights there all the time. So I think that's a really tough game plan against such a competent, beautiful striker in Lapilus when your whole game is predicated on these little tiny short arms trying to get somebody when you have a guy who has such good movement and the other part of your game is on leg kicks, like calf kicks specifically. That's a really tough game plan against a guy who just their stance eliminates half your game and their movement eliminates the other half of the game. So for me, as this price starts to get lower, man, I'm hedging out of my Loughran position. And I'm going to load up on Lapilus here. I think this is a great spot. There's styles of fights in France. He can't get better than that. It's better than the original matchup. Like, I think Lapilus is a side by far. The guy's clean. He's good. High level of competition. And he's not going life or death with 25. So, yeah, that's the side for me. It's my favorite spot on the card.
I guess I will say for Colin Loughran, what do you think the game plan is for him? You think he's going to go for takedowns, or you think it's just going to be him just straight up disrespecting Lapilus and he has to hurt him on the feet?
Well, if he's going to win, that's what he's going to have to do that. He's going to have to fight like a Marc-Andre Barriault game plan. Get in his face, screw you. But the problem is that Taylor is such a good striker and he moves in and out so well. And he's also not afraid to back you down too. He just moved on the outside. I could see a decision win for Caolan, just stalking him, throwing big punches heavier. But the thing is Taylor presses too. He's not afraid to be in your face and fight in a firefight. So I just think Lapilus is better everywhere. And even if he does get taken down, takedowns are valued so little, and Caolan's such short arms. How's he going to hold anybody? His jiu-jitsu is not phenomenal. He's just a bully wrestler. So,
He's got
man,
decent back takes in the bag, I will say. I don't mind his back
yeah.
takes, but I will say I'll add one more thing. I mean, Lapilus only has one fight in the past 20 months. I know he's dealt with injuries in the past. That's just something to note. I mean, because Loughran's out there, he's fighting a shit ton in Lapilus. Maybe he's a little rusty and gets caught, but I figured I'd add that as well. It's an interesting tidbit.
If Marcos Breno fought Caolan, who do you take in that fight?
I mean, you know who I'm gonna pick. I'm always picking my Cage Warriors guys, but yeah, that Breno fight. I mean, I feel like the Josh Hill fight was a good corollary for this matchup. Josh Hill, kind of similar to Colin Loughran, but I mean, it says a split for Lapilus. He didn't. That was not a split. He clearly won that fight, but I tend to agree with you. I just have the early bet on Loughran. I'm gonna let it ride. I got a good number, but yeah, Lapilus is probably decided these odds.
I guess what I was just trying to say is like Breno to me is so high level. His striking is so gorgeous and beautiful. If that dude can't catch him, how the hell is Caolan going to catch him? His arms are half the size. He's twice as slow. Like he is not as smooth and competent, beautiful as a striker. And Lapilus beat the hell out of him. So yeah, I think this is probably one of the better spots on the card.
It
Like
sucks
you,
for
I have an early number. So
It sucks for Caolán. He was supposed to fight Yanis, who we're going to see later on this card. He goes from that being a minus 300 favorite to now he's fighting probably one of the more seasoned French MMA fighters in the pro scene.
well, in completely different styles too, right? One guy picks his spot, stands in the center, and says, "Let's fucking go." And then the other guy is like zipping, zapping all around the cage, and it's just completely different styles. You get a guy who's willing to trade with Caolan in the center. I'll choose Caolan. I'm good with that. But now you have a guy who's got lateral movement, and those little T-Rex arms can't catch him. Much tougher fight. So, all right. Who are you picking to win? And then you said your bet is Caolan, but who do you pick to win this fight?
Well, if I got my bet on Caolán, I ain't backing down now. So I think I said Lapilus has decided the number, but we'll still go with Loughran. It's a close fight for me in my eyes.
All right. Next up, we have Morgan Charriere versus Manolo Zecchini.
You got to get
Go
that
ahead on
right.
this one.
It's Morgan Charriere, but
Charriere.
this is another one of our Cage Warriors boys, and Morgan Charriere, and I feel like this is probably the easiest, probably the safest favorite in my opinion on the whole card. When you talk about Morgan, he's, for all my Cage Warriors fans, he's been around the block for a while, former Cage Warriors champion. He's probably fought the who's who in the European circuit. And he normally goes to close fights. I've never really seen Morgan straight up dominated, except maybe the Paul Hughes fight, but even that was close. And I guess in this matchup, I feel like Morgan has Manolo Zecchini, if that's how you say it properly. I think he has him covered everywhere. When you look at Manolo, yeah, he's a dynamic striker. He'll throw down, and maybe he's got some flying knees in his back pocket. But I mean, outside of him landing a fluke round 1 KO, I feel like Morgan's just gonna go straight to the grappling. You go to Manolo's losses, it's by him getting tired and him getting taken down. And while Morgan has a striking background, we've seen him in a lot of his fights where he goes to the grappling, and I think it's a very underrated aspect of his game. And there's a reason why the UFC signed Morgan for a Paris card. They didn't sign him to lose. They signed him to win. And I will say, submission, plus 450. I don't know I think it was plus 700 on DraftKings actually today. I think the submission for Morgan's a sharp bet, and I feel like he's going to smash every type of method. ITD, sub, spread, bet the house on Morgan Charriere. He ain't being brought into Paris to lose.
Man, I totally agree with you. The dude is really talented. I wish he had a little shinier record because I don't think it's indicative of actually his skills. You look at him skill for skill, the dude is super talented. He's way better than what is he, 18-9. Not much to say about it. The dude's got clean hands, clean distance management, good cardio. Right, he went 5 with Paul Hughes. Like the dude is really really solid. And first of all, Paul Hughes, get him to the UFC. Come on.
Yeah, it's weird that Paul Hughes and Jordan Vucenic are still in Cage Warriors, but Morgan Charriere gets signed first. I'm not hating on it. It's just like, what's the UFC
I'm
doing
hating
here?
on it.
Okay.
He needs to fight Hardwick. He'll take Hardwick's spot straight to the UFC.
That's what he should be on this card, but we'll see him in a little bit. Paul Hughes is a stud.
All right, so we're both on Morgan Charriere. All right, next up, and we talked about this one a little bit. William Gomez and Yanis Ghemmouri. I don't know how to say this, man. These French fuckers. All right, I'll kick this one off. Um, I know where your bet lies, and man, I wanted to not like this guy, and he's not as bad as I thought. However, I feel like you, amongst many other people, underrate William Gomez. I love this guy. For me, he's French David Onap, but with better cardio and better cardio management. I don't know how you say it. I really, really like this guy. I think his regional tape is awesome. He's fast. He zips in and out. He wrestles offensively when he needs to. He moves laterally. The guy's got great body kicks, great low kicks. Like I think the dude is really, really talented. Now, one thing I know you're going to say, and I do think it's true most times, is he has trouble separating himself. But honestly, I don't really know that he does, right? He has trouble separating himself from a guy like Francis Marshall, right, who's going to stalk you and be in your face, and he's just that bulldog. But in this matchup, this guy that he's fighting, first of all, I never listened to any podcast, but I hope the size isn't brought into this as a factor, as an equation, because yes, his fight was supposed to be at 135, but almost all his other fights are at 140, 145. Like, he's not really made 35 consistently ever. So I don't think he's small. And that was the whole point of this, was that he can't make weight. So now he's got to move up to 45, right? So I don't think there's going to be a huge size difference, other than Gomez is just skinnier and longer versus the other guy's build is a little bit more sturdy. I think this lateral movement is gonna mess with them. Now, I do want to talk about this fight. Yanis, when he fought Vladislav Nowitzki. Vladislav Nowitzki is good. That dude's striking is really, really solid. And honestly, it reminded me of almost a better William Gomez, right? He moved laterally a ton, threw amazing leg kicks. I thought Vladislav was kind of picking the dude apart, and somehow the dude got a split decision win there. I don't know. This matchup a little different. William Gomez will offensively wrestle, which I think is good. High volume, skirting the edge. I'm with you. It's hard for him to cover a big price in this fight, but Yanis just kind of plants his flag in the center, stays there, and then is just going to throw leg kicks. And his leg kicks are mean and nasty, but he doesn't have a lot of movement. And it seems like he's always trying to track and read things, where I think William will pull ahead just on volume and tenacity. So I like William here. I don't love the price on William, but I do like William for the win. What do you got?
Yeah, so I guess this is your classic. Are we betting the value or are we betting winners? Because
yeah.
In my notes, I wrote William Gomez. He's an A1 weasel. He's a bigger weasel than Lapilus. Lapilus is actually really good. This dude's a weasel. He's gotten 2 straight UFC wins, and he's landed 32 significant strikes in the Jarno Aarons fight and 27 significant strikes in the Francis Marshall fight. Oh, he does have low volume. His movement is probably the best aspect of his game. And on the regional tape, I really like his work in the clinch. He's very strong, so maybe the strength comes into a factor here. Gomez is really strong in controlling dudes in the clinch, and he's got the trip takedowns as well. But I don't know. The reason I bet Ghemmouri, or however you say it, at plus 215, and you mentioned it. I struggle to see Gomez really covering this minus 250 price tag. While I do think he's going to win, it's like at the end of the day, if he's a low volume guy, and I feel like Ghemmouri, I kind of feel like it's a mirror matchup, but Ghemmouri's just kind of a shittier version of Gomez. But it'll be interesting. You think Ghemmouri's going to maybe look for takedowns in this matchup? Because I have seen him do that in the past.
I don't think he can get him, or if he does, I don't think he can keep him. So I think honestly it's a moot point, and it will just make him more tired, if anything.
Yeah, it's a close matchup. I will say the over is probably really safe. Both these guys tend to fight for the over. It's like minus 240 for the over. Kind of chalky, but completely makes sense. But it's probably a competitive fight where Gomez does enough to win and the value side loses. But yeah, I'm going to pick, for prediction's sake, I'll do Ghemmouri just because I have a bet on him. But Gomez probably wins a close decision.
Okay, fair. I like that you're sticking to what you pick, because, it's like the classic debate, and people who watch these shows just pick winners versus value. I understand both. So for me, like, if I'm trying to be smart, this fight's a pass. When it's Saturday and I'm just saying fuck it and throwing money down on whatever I want, like, Gomez, I think he's going to win this fight, so he's up next in the parlay. So very, very different, mindsets there, right? Just like Caolán, I have a bet on him, but I think he's going to win. Absolutely not. So, all
I
right.
guess I'll finish it off. Gomez by split decision seems like it's a system play.
Not in France. This dude may have a French flag on his Tapology, but he ain't French. So, I don't know. William Glaze. All right. Next up, we have Volkan Oezdemir versus Bogdan Guskov. All right. I'll kick this one off. I've seen a lot of people on both sides of the fence here. One saying Bogdan is the biggest fraud of all time, and then the other one saying that like Bogdan's gonna win. Bogdan hasn't been out of the first round a whole lot. I mean, he's almost all first round finishes. His hands are low, but people misinterpret the hands low thing. Hands low is not always a bad thing. If you ever watch Santino teach striking, okay, Santino's hands are always low. If you ever watch Santino like actually strike, like there used to be times when Santino would jump in with everybody and actually spar people. It was like kind of cool. And Santino would pick people apart. And Santino's hands are always, always, always low. And the reason that is just he understands distance and range. And then once he gets into range, he starts framing up his hands so that anything coming around the sides, he's blocking, and he uses head movement for everything coming down the middle. I like Bogdan's striking a little bit. Man, he knocked one dude into the next planet. The dude, he freaking murdered him. I think it was like off a takedown, and he kind of shrugged him off and pop, killed the guy. I don't mind his striking at all. I think it's kind of cool. Like it's hands low, it's counter punching, very powerful, very straight. Again, these debuters, it's really tough to know, but he's short notice against Volkan Oezdemir, who I think Oezdemir for a long time has been very underrated on his actual skills. He kind of does everything really well, nothing exceptional, but everything super, super well. Man, again, this is like when he fought Paul Craig. I saw a million people on the Paul Craig train, and I think it's because Paul Craig has a weird cult following, and I don't get it. But to me, Volkan's the better mixed martial artist. He's just cleaner on the feet. He can put together 15 minutes. He's been fighting at a high level. He's not very old. Man, I think Bogdan's probably closer to a fraud than he is to a UFC champion. So for me, I like Volkan, and it's a good price on Volkan. So fight doesn't go, obviously, but yeah, give me Volkan Oezdemir.
Yeah, so I'm not hating the Volkan play, but I've seen a lot of people that really love him this week, and I guess my concern here with this fight is like Bogdan's still kind of a mystery box. We aren't really sure what we're getting out of him, and the issue with Volkan is like if he's not getting a first round knockout, is Volkan really separating himself? Because he doesn't have really like normally when you're paying minus 200 for these big boys, you want them to either have a massive grappling upside or the ability to just knock this dude out in the first round. And if it does get extended, I mean, do you think Bogdan or Volkan? I mean, have we seen? I gotta go deeper on the tape on Bogdan. Have we seen Bogdan's cardio let him down in the past, or is a lot of him just high rolling early finishes?
Just early finishes.
Yeah, so it's like Volkan doesn't even come off as like he doesn't come off as like a cardio machine. So like it could just be a tepid striking match for the second and third round where it's like it's a close fight, and it's like I don't want to be planting my flag on Volkan Oezdemir minus 200 when he. I guess the theme of this card is not separating yourself enough, but I don't think. I think he might be the rightful side, but it's like, dude, it's Volkan Oezdemir minus 200. I can't get there. I just can't get there.
Yeah, I could see that too. And man, again, these debuters, how many times we've been burnt? Like when Bruno Ferreira fought, what was his name? Altiev or whatever.
Ruzi Boev.
Yeah. Like we were watching the tape, like, man, this guy's horrible. And then he comes out and just flatlines him. So, man, I worry it could be something like that. And at least this guy's tape looked a lot better than that guy's tape. This guy's head movement, counter punching, powerful. So I'm with you. Like, it's tough to be like crazy there because we don't know. He's finishing all these guys first round like he's supposed to do. What if his cardio is amazing? What if he can keep that up for 3 rounds? We don't really know. So again, I'd probably lean Volkan here, just proven, been around. You know what you're getting with him. I really do like his striking. But yeah, probably a pass on this one too, at least until we watch the first round, and then maybe throw a live bet.
Dude, I thought Volkan was a lot older than he is. He's only 33 years old for light heavyweight, man. He's
Yeah,
been
he's
around
not
for
too
a
old.
while. But it would be a close fight, man. I just feel like it's very volatile, as every big boy fight is. Do you have a hot take on the over under? I see a lot of love in my circles for the under 1.5 at around like minus 130, minus 150.
I'm just the biggest coward when it comes to playing unders on 1.5. So for me, it's not a good look. But I honestly, like, gun to my head, I'd say, yeah, it's going under. Two guys swinging like that, Volkan's chin's going to go, or he's going to chin him, just like he chinned Krylov early in that fight, too. So, yeah, I mean, I like that play.
Yeah, I guess I'll say I'm going with Bogdan just because I like to be different.
Okay. All right. Next up, oh boy, we have Benoit Saint-Denis versus Thiago Moises. Wow. All right, go ahead. What you got?
Yeah, so I really want to be on the Thiago Moises train, but it's like I think at the end of the day, I did bet his point spread when it opened. It was like minus 130 for Moises for the point spread, but I think at the end of the day, from a money line standpoint, I'm probably just gonna pass. Maybe if I'm having a good night, maybe just throw a little bit on Moises. But my issue with Moises is he shows up different every fight. I feel like a lot of it's like a confidence thing with Moises because we got some fights he shows up, he looks amazing, and then like against Joel Alvarez or even the Michael Johnson fight, even though he won that fight, sometimes he's just like he looks like he's frozen, and I don't know. But Benoit Saint Denis, you're gonna mention it. You hate his tape, and I'm not. I've tried to fade him a bunch too. Luckily, I was smart enough not to bet Ismail Bonfim because that line was a bit of a market overreaction, and I feel like we might be getting a bit of a market overreaction here as well. We got Benoit Saint Denis who goes from just from a macro standpoint, he was a plus 250, plus 240 underdog his last fight, and now he's a minus 165, minus 170 favorite against Thiago Moises. And Thiago Moises has only lost to Beneil Dariush, Joel Alvarez, and Islam Makhachev. Those dudes are, well, Joel Alvarez, he might not be the elite of the division. Islam and Beneil are elite, probably the best top 5 grapplers in MMA right now. But I don't know. I don't see the merit of betting Benoit Saint Denis as a big favorite. Maybe he's a justified favorite just because he has the pressure. And we have seen in Thiago's fights, a lot of the times he struggles with guys that pressure him heavy. But I don't know. I feel like this fight could play out in a multitude of ways. I will say, Moises, I don't know what the price is. Benoit loves to stick his neck out there on his entry. So I know Moises likes his guillotine. He kind of did it a little too much against Dariush, but maybe Benoit shoots into a guillotine. But it could be one of those where we got two grapplers, they just bang it out. And with Benoit's striking defense, I don't know if you want to play him in a striking match. And at the same time, it's like we don't know if he has elite grappling to expose Moises on the mat. So it's definitely Moises or pass right now. I'm probably of the belief I'm just gonna pass. But yeah, Thiago Moises at dog odds. You kind of have to side with him.
Yeah, I mean, here I go again, man. Here I go again. Here I go again. I don't like this guy. I don't like his tape. And I said this earlier. These two guys are at opposite ends of the spectrum. BSD Saint Denis is massive with little skills, and Thiago Moises is little with massive skills. The guy, I mean, he's small and he looks just like so unathletic, and you can just overwhelm the guy. But his striking is beautiful. His jiu-jitsu is good. He can wrestle when he chooses to. I mean, the guy really is like the ultimate overachiever. And Saint Denis is like the opposite. I mean, he's got bad cardio. He was getting, geez, man, I was watching his head snap back and his brain get rattled by Gabriel Miranda. Even Stoltze, and Stoltze almost caught him in a front choke too. I mean, like all of these guys are tagging this guy. They're beating his ass. They're putting him in submissions, and he's just bigger and stronger and wears them out. And I thought the fade spot was going to be Bonfim, and wasn't it that Bonfim's arm broke in the first first
Dude,
exchange?
I don't know if it's actually true, but he came out with like 10 straight naked body kicks, so it had to be that because Bonfim looked really off. But I don't know. I feel like
No, I
Bonfim.
believe it, man. He was blocking those with he was just straight up blocking those with his forearms. And God, I can't remember what fight it was where this guy just, it was a high level fight, maybe a title fight, where the dude just came out and threw like 10 of those in a row, and the guy just kept blocking with one arm and like freaking broke his arm and like couldn't use it the rest of the fight. So, dude, I absolutely believe it. That part scared the shit out of me. Like, if he comes out and does that again, how do you defend that? Like, what's Moises gonna do? You're gonna shoot a takedown? Like, what are you gonna do? You two-arm block? It's still gonna hurt like fuck all. So, man, that was tough. But the one thing I will give Saint-Denis credit for is his cage wrestling. He does things that a lot of other people don't do, where he'll run the pipe and then he'll redirect his head back onto the inside, use that to clasp the hands, and then he'll take him down. His jiu-jitsu's good, but his jiu-jitsu's been a lot better than everybody that he's fought. I guess outside of Bonfim, but if Bonfim's arm was fucking broken, that sounded like that choke wasn't in. He wanted out, right? It was over his jaw. He could have fought, but he didn't. Dude wanted out. He doesn't have better jiu-jitsu than Moises. I don't think he doesn't have better cardio than Thiago Moises. Doesn't have better striking than Thiago Moises. Maybe he's tougher and he's bigger. So at dog odds, man, I love Thiago Moises here. I just don't believe the Saint-Denis hype. His regional tape was rough. And, looking at his record, he was fighting tough guys. Like, he was fighting good guys. But at the end of the day, he was still just shooting on his knees, putting guys against the cage, dog tired, just hoping to drag these guys down and, sometimes doing it. Like, Moises is a good grappler. He took down Mckee, which, whatever. It's cage wrestling. Anybody can get taken down. But, and I just think he's better. If I lose a bet again, so be it. Someday, Benoit Saint-Denis' time is going to come, and I will be right there to line my pockets. And I'm just kind of considering this a big investment. Every time I lose money on him, I'm just loading up for the next time, and I'm going to get it all back and then some. So, Thiago Moises, I love the guy. That's my pick here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it again. It just comes down to which version of Thiago Moises shows up, because Benoit's going to be in his face. Thiago's just got to be ready for a slugfest if that's what's going to happen. But do you think Thiago can... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you think Thiago can hit takedowns here? Because I feel like if he's getting top position, it might be counter grappling off of Saint-Denis' shitty entries. But I do think Moises is the superior grappler here.
So, what's funny is that Santino told me this a long time ago. Long time ago. He said, he goes... this was when Joanna Jędrzejczyk was champion of the world and looked unbeatable. He goes, no one can beat her. And he goes, you know how she's going to lose someday? And I'm like, how? He goes, it's not from grappling. He goes, it's the second someone steps in her face and starts swinging on her in the pocket, she's going to get chinned. And I think it was like a couple months later, Rose chinned her, right? He predicted that. And then the second thing he always said was like, he goes, Khabib, the way you beat Khabib, it's not from defending takedowns and outstriking him. It's going takedowns on him. And how many times have we seen that in the last year, I would say, right? The Dags getting taken down themselves. Like, guys taking down the Dagestanis, and that's how they're winning fights, is by them taking down the Dags. Most recent is Sidney Outlaw, when he just fought.
Islam Mammadov absolutely mopped the floor with him.
Yeah, because that's the thing, is like, people want to just put one blanket over everything. Oh, this guy's takedown defense is horrible. It's like, no, it's not horrible. If he's trying to kill you and he's swinging punches as hard as he can, he gets taken down, it happens. Like, that's just part of MMA. It doesn't mean his takedown defense is bad. It means he wasn't thinking about the takedown. He was trying to knock your fucking head off, right? Same thing with the Dagestanis. They're very good, like hanging on you, grappling you, just taking you down repeatedly. But they're not immune from being taken down, especially in a cage. You put these guys in the open mat, different ballgame. Like, good luck taking them down. But you put them on a cage, just like Sidney Outlaw, right? He kept cutting corners. He kept just, boom, wrapping them up, taking them down. So do I think Thiago Moises can hit takedowns? Absolutely. I think round one, Saint-Denis is going to be a fucking ox. That dude, I think Thiago Moises is going to have to go through hell for one round. Body kicks, just weird clubbing hooks, pressure on the cage. And after that, I think it's Thiago Moises' time. I think he's going to start hitting takedowns, top control. And that's the big difference with a true jiu-jitsu guy versus like an MMA-based wrestler, is the control. Thiago Moises' control, his jiu-jitsu is legitimately phenomenal. whereas Saint-Denis is just so much bigger and kind of wet blanket, and then he's got a few submissions. And I
I think a
like to
good
see
way to
Thiago
put it
Moises.
is that if BSD, if he gets takedowns, Moises can work up, whereas if Moises gets takedowns, that might be the round or even the fight.
The
It's
fight,
just,
yeah.
we have to go with Moises here, man. I can't believe he's the dog. I feel like it should be a pick 'em if anything. But the way you're
Dude,
talking,
the
maybe
guy's
live
been
bet.
tops of the division for years, like, and all of a sudden, like this is one of those things, and I gotta wean myself off this. Like, we always kind of sit down and we take a look at cards and we go, all right, this is the A side, this is the B side, this is who they want to win. If it goes to decision, it's gonna go to this guy because they're fighting in this town. The truth of the matter, guys, first of all, like, there is always corruption in sports. Yes, period. Judging, boxing, there's always been corruption forever. But at the same time, it's the same fucking judges that they have in Las Vegas that are flying out to Paris. It's not like local Paris judges are like, we need to take our guy. No, it's like the same judges. It's whoever the UFC wants to win. No, I'm sorry. No, don't, like, I'm just saying, like, they can watch a fight. You might get a little hometown lead, and I think a lot of that is from the crowd and the audience. But if you're looking at things, all things equal, like, the judges are just judges. They're going to judge a fight, and sometimes guys can make it so indisputable that you can't row, right? It's like so clear. It's like you can't do that. I just think Thiago Moises is the better fighter everywhere. He is smaller. I don't care if this fight's in London, Japan, Brazil, Paris. I still think he's a better fighter. And you're giving me plus money on a guy who's been tops of the division, who's got real skills, real cardio. I don't care where this fight is. I have to take him. I can look like an idiot. BSD can go out there and just smash the guy, but you're wanting to play a guy at minus 160 who's got bad cardio and was getting tagged up by Gabriel Miranda. Man, tough. I think that's tough. Tough.
Hey, if we lose Saturday, we'll just double down on the next fight. Just keep doing it.
Fuck it, man. We're just going to keep rolling. You only lose when you run out of money. All right. That takes us to the co-main event of the evening, and we have Manolo Fierro versus Rose Namajunas. Did you take this one?
I didn't go as in depth as I wanted to, but I mean, we both know these girls really well. I feel like it's a very straightforward matchup here. You got Rose moving up from strawweight to flyweight. And I guess the issue with Rose is it's like I don't really know what she's doing at this stage in her career. Coming off probably one of the worst title fights of all time. And now she's moving up a weight class to fight Manon Ferrot. And I don't know if you've been the same boat as me, but I've said to myself I'm going to keep betting Manon Ferrot till she gets a title shot, and that's what I've been doing. Kept cashing tickets, and it's like, why stop here? And not just because of that, it's just like in this matchup, it's like she has a mass. I feel like watch the face-offs. I think Manon's going to be a lot bigger than Rose because Rose doesn't even come off as like a big strawweight. And I guess in this matchup, it's like Rose at strawweight, she had a lot of her success with her range and being able to use her reach effectively. And it's like with Manon here, I don't think Rose is going to be able to point fight Fierro, who's going to be doubling her up in strikes. And I mean, are we going to forget that Rose? I think her cardio is a bit questionable too. It's like Rose doesn't come off as someone that's going to push the pace. And if Manon's pushing the pace on her, I think if anything, Rose is going to be the one getting tired. I don't know. I've never been a big Namajunas fan, so it's minus 175 right now. And women's MMA, I guess it maybe could be close, but let's just say Manon Ferrot isn't the co-main event in France to lose. Read more books.
Oh, man, that takes me back, man of the library. I wish that guy would unblock me. I did nothing to him, and he just blocked me. The only thing I ever said to man of the library was that he's an autistic savant. And that's true. He's a little bit autistic, but why you got to block me for that? Like, that's a friendly thing. I'm saying you're a very smart guy. You got some crazy theories, and sometimes they come true. So why you block me for saying you're an autistic savant? The dude's always tweeting autistic things. So I'm wrong for calling that out, and he blocks me. And then he unblocks me for a day, and I'm like, woo, we're back in the game. And then he blocks me again. What the hell, man? Guys, if you're seeing this, reach out to Man of the Library. Tell him to unblock me, okay? Okay, I'm just gonna say it like this. I love Rose. I don't get why people make fun of the I'm the best thing. Like, as fighters, you got to tell yourself anything that you can to like get yourself there. Like, almost every time that I've ever gone out there, I did not want to be there. Like, you're in the back, like warming up, hitting mitts. And then I'm like, dude, can I cancel this? Can I go home? Because I'm about to go walk out through these doors and be in front of thousands of people in my underwear. This is like a horrible feeling. And like if you have performance anxiety, it's the worst. So whatever Rose needs to tell herself to get in that cage, dude, I love that stuff. I love the mental stuff. I love going with that. I'm all for it. Um, Honestly, you want to know the most alarming thing to me was her grappling match against Jillian Robertson. And I don't mean because she got out technique. Like I thought Jillian was probably going to win that grappling match. It just was the way that it was done and like Rose's general disposition, right? There comes a time when like you refuse to lose and you will do anything and refuse to lose. And I guess here's how I want to equate it. Watch Jack Della Maddalena when he fought the Russian guy. What's the dude's name?
Fuck. Why do
I
I
know
forget
there's
this
so
guy's-
many.
The one with the sunburn on him for the fight.
Yeah,
Danny
yeah.
Roberts. What was his name? It doesn't matter.
All right, he fought the Russian dude, and he got put in that anaconda choke, and that was one of the tightest anaconda chokes I have ever seen. I'm not kidding. That would tap out 95% of the roster. And then you just kind
Ramazan
of look at a
Ameev.
guy. Yeah, Ramazan Amin. And then you look at a guy who just kind of refuses to lose and works his way out of like one of the tightest things I've ever seen, and then comes back and puts on a knockout. That's a guy who refuses to lose. Volkanovski, when he fought Ortega, they did like sports science on that and was like, dude, that would put everybody in the world to sleep. How he made it out of that doesn't even work with science. But then you look at Rose and she was just like, okay, I'm good. Like, I'm done. And then it was like so cutesy about it afterwards. There's something that happens with your mindset where you're just kind of out. You're in and then you're out. And you watch that performance against Carla. I don't really care about the technical aspects of it. I mean, honestly, Rose should have won the fight. She can grapple. She's got jiu-jitsu. She can counter grapple. She knew what Carla wanted to do because Carla only wants to do one thing. And she just stood there and played pity pat. It just seemed like somebody who doesn't care about winning the fight, not wanting to go for it, not pushing that extra mile. And that was so different from how she looked against Wei Li, especially now when you're watching Wei Li dominate these girls and kill these girls so quickly and look so dominant. And then you watch her fight against Carla, and then you watch the jiu-jitsu match with Jillian Robertson. It just looks like somebody who doesn't really want to be there anymore. And now you're moving up to 125, which doesn't make a lot of sense for me because Rose is not very big. I'm in a Discord and this guy trains at her gym was saying that she's tiny. Like straw weights walk past her and they're like way bigger than her. So why the hell she would ever want to go to 125 is beyond me. Like I'm a 25er, I would knock Rose out. No, I'm just kidding. But there's weight classes for a reason. I went back and watched the Chukagan versus Firo, and honestly, I was less than impressed with Firo. Like in my mind, she's just a freaking savage. And then that fight was so like lackluster, and her chin is up all the time, and she's like pushing her punches, and there's a lot of technical things I didn't love about Firo. But then watch her against Tabitha Ricci. Watch her against Tabitha Ricci. There are weight classes for a reason. I know Vanessa got offered that fight, and Santino said, absolutely not. We will not take that fight. There's no chance in hell. Give it to somebody else. And they gave it to Tabitha, and Tabitha got the shit kicked out of her. And now Tabitha's beating everybody else. So what does that say about that, right? Now, Rose is a much better striker than Tabitha, guys. Don't go crazy on that. But there's weight classes for a reason. There's people who want to win in competition mindset. Man, Firo's co-main in France. She's way bigger, stronger, probably faster. And then you're right. The cardio is something I didn't even consider, right? It's so weird how Rose slows down. And I actually asked about that. I think I talked to her manager or former manager. It's not cardio. I guess Rose in the gym has phenomenal cardio. It's never failed her. She is like a cardio machine, never gets tired. It's that she loses interest in the fight a little bit. She's going, and she loses interest. Like she just kind of tunes out and slows down and stops being so like high strung, and it takes her off her focus. Man, a person who's got mental troubles and struggles fighting in a foreign country up a weight class against Manolo. Tough proposition. Now, minus 175. Jeez. just did a 30-minute diatribe on it. But man, I think it's really hard to pass up Manolo. Do we think that Rose is going to keep fighting forever? Like, how many more fights does she have in her? She lost her title. She left the division. Now she's going up a weight class. Like, this feels like it to me. Like, she doesn't seem like she wants to fight. This feels like it. So I don't understand people playing the Rose side of things other than just nostalgia. Like, we love Rose. She's so cool. I'm the best. But like, from an actual, like, hey, let's make money and pay our bills standpoint, like, Manon seems like the side, no?
Yeah, so I will add, I don't know what the price is now, but I do have a bet on this fight. It was the point spread for Firo. I got like plus 180 on the point spread. I don't know. I think it came down a little bit, but it's like, if Firo's going to win, like I think she is, she's probably going to get at least 130, 27 on there. But yeah, I don't know what Rose is doing at this stage in her career. It feels like this is like a last ditch effort. It's like, I would never expect her to move up the flyweight, but let alone, I don't know. She's probably lost right now. Maybe that's why she's training with ISIS for a beak right now.
That worked out well. Okay,
that's a good way to cap it off.
Well, we got one more fight.
Oh, no, of course.
Yeah, we got one more fight, man. It's the main event of the evening. It's Cyril Gane and Sergey Spivak. I did like 30 minutes on freaking Rose and Manolo. So why don't you go ahead on this one so the people can hear your voice?
Honestly, there might be a lot of passionate takes. I know some people that are really heavy on the Gane side. They're out here moving markets. And I know some people that are passionate on the Spivak side. And I'm not passionate on any side. I feel like whoever wins going to have a contingency of people that are claiming they made the bet of the year. Because most likely, if Spivak wins, it's going to be him getting a quick submission. If Gane wins, it's probably him just outclassing Spivak on the feet. And it's like, I just don't know what level Gane's grappling is at. And Spivak, I mean, yeah, he's shown a tendency to be a little bit flaky sometimes. So there is a possibility Gane might just steamroll him in the first round. But Gane doesn't really come off as like one of these guys like an Aspinall that's just going to run through him with one punch. Gane's like a death by 1,000 cuts. He's going to be an attritional finisher. Whereas, I don't know. I just think it's hard because Spivak's, his takedowns aren't even similar to what John Jones and Francis and Gane are hitting. They're going for double legs, whereas Spivak, he's more of an upper body guy. So it'll be an interesting dynamic whether Gane can defend the upper body trip takedowns. But I don't know. It's hard to really have a side in this fight, even over unders too, man. It's a bit tricky because it's like, what if Gane just plays it really safe and it's just like a kind of boring decision? I don't know. It's a tough fight to get a read on, man. I think I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy it. But whoever wins is gonna look like a hindsight big favorite. So I guess you got to go with Gane since it's in Paris.
Zero balls, man.
Dude, it's a tough fight. I don't like betting main events. I have a bad track record with those. But, you know, we got one last weekend with Max Holloway.
Yeah, man, that was a tough fight. A close fight. Yeah, really close fight. Yeah, man, I bet this line as soon as the line dropped. And for a while, man, I was really good I'm still good at narratives. Like, I know where the line is going to move. So as soon as they drop, I can see everything, and I'm like, okay, I know this guy, I know where it's going to move. So if I want CLV, super easy for me to do, but then it's like, okay, do I trust the play, and do I hedge out of it? And that's where the real work begins. I have Sergey Spivak at plus 230, $500. That was the max at the time. So it's a good number. I mean, that's a really good number. I'm happy with it. But that was like the second it opened, and my Bet Online account has been through hell and back. It's gone all the way down, all the way back up, all the way down again. And what's cursed me is I keep seeing the $500 Sergey Spivak thing, and I'm like, let me get that back. Let me get that money back. I need it right now. Come on. But I've been staring at this, and now it's finally time to see if this is going to cash. Man, I think Cyril Gane is going to smoke this guy. And here's why. I liked Cyril Gane's takedown defense and his hip movement before the John Jones fight. I couldn't fathom that Fat John Jones was able to do that to him that quickly. Like, it was crazy to me. And it honestly was a horrible look for Cyril, and the Francis and Gane fight was a pretty horrible look for Cyril. But you're right. Sergey does a lot of throws, and his takedowns are fucking amazing. I don't know how he does them because if I tried to do them, I would get my back taken almost every time. I would constantly get ending up on my face, and he's hitting these miraculous, crazy, insane takedowns. But he's hitting these on guys with really robotic hips, really slow, really fat, really old. Still gone and moves well, man. The guy's got good hips. He moves well. He moves like a freaking lightweight. Like the guy is legit. Now striking, I don't think it's a complete wash like people think that it is. Sergey Spivak has a nice jab. His striking's come a long way. His cardio's looked a lot better as of late. Uh, but man, I think Cyril is talented, man. He's got really good Muay Thai, good jab, leaps in and out. I think it's going to be tough for Spivak to track him down and keep him down for 5 rounds. That's tough. Like Spivak, I think his win condition is round one. Honestly, round one. If Cyril makes it out of that, I'm on Cyril all day. So I think Cyril is definitely the winner of this fight. I don't think that Spivak's going to sub him. I think that's his only path. So I like Cyril Gane. I have a good juicy plus number on Sergey Spivak, and I am going to look to hedge out of that position. Take it to the bank, guys. Cyril Gane, Manolo, and Taylor Lapilus parlay for everything. And then you guys can go sign up for the Patreon.
I'll give you
Okay.
I'll give you the parlay. We parlay all the Cage Warriors guys, and we get rich.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm not
No,
getting
but
rich.
I will say, I figured. You mind if I share some of my bets? Because I figured the people that are staying this long, they're the OGs. So I figured I share some my favorite bets for this card.
Okay. Let's hear it.
All right. So if I had to pick a parlay for this card, I guess I'll do free row and Morgan Charriere. That's probably going to be about even money. I think that's a really solid parlay. You got two of the Frenchies. I think they both get it done pretty easily. And then for the dogs I like, I mean, we got Moises. Me and Brandon both like Moises. I think that's a solid dog. Another dog I like Rhys Mckee. I feel like that's just a close fight where plus 150 is going to look like the value side. And Ghemmouri and Loughran, probably more long shot dogs, but I mean, those 4 dogs, you just need 2 or 3 of them to hit, and we're having a good night Saturday.
It's a tough proposition, but all right, man. Well, good show. In true Santino fashion, you didn't do a lot of the women's stuff, which is fine. But thanks for being here, man. It's late for you. It's what, past midnight?
It's 1:45 a.m. Gotta get up for class tomorrow morning, but it's okay.
Yeah,
Always
man,
love
you need to
chopping it
drop
up.
out. Quit class, guys. In the comments, please talk about Pierce quitting class. And then also, this is the last thing. Guys, on Robin O'Neill's post, I'll send $15 to anyone who has the best Miami-related fact on her most recent post. That would be hilarious. All right.
So you're a
Thank
millionaire
you,
now,
guys.
giving out $15 to people?
Come on, man. It's a comment. How much effort does that take? How do you think I'm going to stay a millionaire? All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Pierce, for joining us. Sorry for the late upload, but a little brain funk this week. And Tino's off on his own, so no deadlines, at least for me. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. All right, take it easy. All right. Thank you, sir.